What's going on, guys? How you doing? I hope you're doing well. I want to talk about something that has blown up much larger than I thought it would. It's Joe Rogan versus Neil Young. It's really Neil Young versus Spotify, kind of. And Joe Rogan happens to be, the reason why Neil Young's going at Spotify. And there's a lot of tribalism and a lot of stuff intertwined in everything that's going on. People dismissing any arguments that are going in between. People that are just saying, oh, Joe Rogan, it's just, it's all about freedom of speech and censorship and dialogues and conversation, and that's it. And then they're using misinformation and quote tweets. Meanwhile, Neil Young is saying, hey, either pull my music from Spotify or take Joe Rogan off of Spotify, because Joe Rogan is spreading a lot of COVID misinformation and what have you. And there's a lot of people that agree with that sentiment. There's a lot of people that are dismissing it. I want to really dig into it unbiasedly and show you what's been going on. But before I start, I want to emphatically say that I don't think Joe Rogan should be deplatformed from Spotify. I don't think he needs to. However, I do believe, and not even believe, I do know, factually know, that he is spreading misinformation. I don't think he's doing it on purpose. I think he's trying to get to the bottom of something, and he's stumbling way more in one direction than the other. It's pretty obvious when I show you all the stuff that I'm going to show you. I have been a fan of Joe Rogan in the JRE since 2012. I've been a fan of Joe Rogan much longer than that. I've been watching the UFC for 22 years, which is insane when I think about it. And I've seen everything he's been involved with that, from commentary to interviews to promotion and what have you. Big instrument, I'm a big fan of the guy. I mean, and I've said this before in other videos that I've almost, he contacted me a few years back about going on the show, but it never materialized, and I never felt slighted or anything. I mean, there's prominent people that still have not been on. There's Bobby Lee, a friend of Joe Rogan, still has not gone on JRE, because I feel like Bobby's too coy and shy to ask. Just ask, and then Joe will be like, of course. But Joe's so busy, he's just like not thinking about it, right? So I'm like, I don't care. It's fine. If I ever made it on, that'd be very cool. I'd love to have a conversation with them. If not, that's cool. I think it's almost like, to be nominated. It's almost like that thing. The fact that he even asked in the first place was pretty cool. But Joe Rogan is looked up to by so many people. And then it kind of comes down to this quote, right? With great power comes great responsibility, by the late, great Uncle Ben, shot Uncle Ben. He says that, and I think everybody can kind of agree with that. They always think, when they hear that quote, they're like, it makes sense. Joe Rogan has a lot of power and influence. #1 podcast in the world. A lot of people look up to him. So when he's saying certain things, it gets a little iffy, right? It gets a little like, oh, why is he saying this? But now I want to say, because there's a lot of people that said that, oh, misinformation is just a term for information I don't like. Is it though? When you hear people talk about flat earth stuff and whatnot, the vast majority of the world knows that's complete just garbage. So we can classify it as misinformation, correct? Or is it just, I don't like the information, I just don't like it, and that's no, of course not. It's misinformation. Of course it is. That's a dumb thing to say. It's very dismissive. It's a straw man. So now what I want to do, because I feel like a lot of people that are just fans of Joe Rogan just aren't paying attention to all of the misinformation that has come from the podcast. This is coming from someone who respects Joe Rogan. This is someone who's listened to Joe Rogan a very long time. But this is someone who is not an ideologue. I don't care about sides, partisanship. I don't care about tribalism. If you've known me, I sell the shirts, the radical centrist, right? Ha, funny joke. But seriously, I'm all about absorbing information, and it doesn't matter to me what side it lands on. Is it correct? And this is what we're going to do right here. So I want to start off with this kind of like how I want to show you how like Joe Rogan's journey kind of got. So I want to start off with something. It was like early COVID. It was like early pandemic. So I have this clip from Lex Friedman, very smart guy, scientist. Joe respects him immensely. This is early on in the pandemic, and then they're talking about wearing masks, and Lex is like, wear your mask. They absolutely work. He's a part of a coalition or whatever that's like, hey, they work. Wear them. Come on, let's not be stupid.
So that's where the movement of Masks for All started, which is your mask protects me, my mask protects you. And the idea there is not, I'm not creating a wall from the rest of society. I am contributing to the sort of the bigger aggregate picture of it by not allowing the infection to spread.
So pretty simple, right? He's explaining why it's important to wear a mask. Well, now Joe Rogan's listening. He's not pushing back. He's not being agitated. Even when you look at the comment section, you start looking at some of the comments. Let's just zoom in a little bit if we can. If you look at them, people are just kind of being very respectful. You know, they're talking about don't tell people to quit throwing them in the streets. I see them everywhere. It's just that they're just talking about things. They're not saying like, this is outrageous. You know, this was well over a year ago, almost 2 years ago. It's really weird how Japan, Asia, it's second nature to just wear a mask from time to time due to different things like having a cold, allergies, etc. But in the West, people would think you're awkward or scared. I've only seen this in a competitive Smash scene, you know, blah, blah, blah. So you see like people are just being very like respectful. Like they're not going crazy. And that's how you see how things started off. Like things were very cordial and things were making sense to Joe Rogan. But then somewhere along the line, he just started getting more hostile and more one-sided towards like what essentially he thinks is supposed to happen. So to me, this was the first eyebrow that was raised for me, was when Joe Rogan was essentially, you know, giving vaccination advice about, you know, young males or young people in their 20s or whatever, if they should get the vaccine or not.
If you're like 21 years old and you say to me, should I get vaccinated? I go, no. If you're a healthy person and you're exercising all the time and you're young and you're eating well, and like, I don't think you need to worry about this.
So that clip right there was concerning to me for very many reasons, because it was like, oh, Joe doesn't understand why you should get vaccinated. So that's already misinformation, where it's like, don't do this. A lot of people listen to him. A lot of people that are young will listen to this and be like, yeah, I am healthy. I won't get it. It's already like, oh, that's weird. It's weird that he even said that. Now, to be fair to Joe, he did clarify, but in a very iffy way, in a way that's not just admitting like, oh yeah, that was stupid to say. It's like, oh, well, this is what I meant. And if we were talking about something else, I would have said something different.
I'm not an anti-vax person.
Right.
In fact, I said I believe they're safe, and I encourage many people to take them. My parents were.
Okay, it's like, if you think they're safe, why would you ever tell people not to take them? You know, it's like vitamins, right? It's like vitamins. You encourage people to take vitamins. You think they're safe. Why would you ever tell somebody no? If they're safe, why would you ever say, no, don't take them? I don't think you need it. Even if you're young and healthy, it's like, isn't the argument supposed to be, well, it couldn't hurt you, right?
Vaccinated. I just said, I don't think that if you're a young, healthy person that you need it. Their argument was, you need it for other people.
So you don't transmit the virus.
That makes more sense.
So
that's the only argument. That is literally the only argument from the very get-go. What is the slogan that was trying to be beat into everybody's head since the inception of the pandemic? Help stop the spread. That's it. Not protect yourself. Not be healthy. Those weren't it was help stop the spread. How do we help stop the spread? We got to promote vaccination so we can get immunization to the point where we do have herd immunity and this thing dies off. We failed at that. This shit seems like it's here to stay because there's too many people that just don't understand this, and too many people that are scared, and there's too many people that were hesitant because of information that was being promoted on the show. It's one of those things where it's a fucking reality and a fact, and the only reason people won't accept it is because they like Joe too much. They love him too much to accept that reality. I like Joe Rogan. Two of these things can be true at the same time. I like this guy, yet I don't like the information that's been spewing from the podcast. Now I want to talk about Dr. Rhonda Patrick. Dr. Rhonda Patrick has been on the podcast a ton of times. Joe Rogan respects her a lot. And it's really funny that when she comes on, she kind of takes a little jab at Joe, but not indirectly, because she wanted to be as respectful as possible. But you can even see in her body language how it's like, how do I say this nicely that you're spreading misinformation?
But
you know, since we're on this topic, can we talk a little bit of vaccines? Because it's something I have seen a lot of misinformation.
There's that word again.
Like on everywhere. Everywhere.
Look at her, close her eyes and say everywhere. You know what that means? She's dancing around and she's like, how do I say this nicely? Like, I need to include Joe Rogan into this, so I'm just going to say everywhere. Because, yes, a lot of the misinformation was coming from the show, and I'll show you proof of why.
Facebook, on, you know, different news media outlets, and I think there's really, like, some main ones that I just feel are causing harm.
Yeah, which I agree, and she's going to start rattling them off. But there's one in particular that is really funny to me, and then I'll get to next.
And so, you know, vaccines basically don't prevent transmission. Spike protein from vaccines are cytotoxic, therefore they're really bad. That vaccines are going to cause something called antibody-dependent enhancement, which is going to make you have a more severe disease. There's the vaccines are going to cause infertility.
I've heard that one a lot of times. Joe Rogan even had a doctor on recently promoting that again.
There's the vaccines are going to cause a more virulent strain or variant.
Now this is the one that I really want to focus on, because this was this was something that Joe Rogan absolutely did. This is something, and I don't even know. I try to look and see if he like apologized or clarified. He's like, "Oopsie, I made an oopsie," but I haven't seen it. But I want to pull up exactly what this one's about.
Imperfect vaccination can enhance the transmission of highly virulent pathogens.
Right.
So this is a scientific paper from 2015.
Ooh.
That shows
2015, huh?
That's
weird. This we're talking about COVID in 2015. We're talking about COVID-19 in 2015. That's very strange.
Here's one important quote: vaccines that keep the host alive but still allow transmission can thus allow virulent strains to circulate in a population.
That's spooky. That is very spooky. Now, Phil DeFranco here is going to talk about the doctor that wrote that article, the scientist or whatever, the virologist, whoever the hell he is, was like, bruh, this is about chicken vaccines. This is about a disease in chickens. Why are you comparing this to COVID? It is not the same thing.
That we saw outrage over the weekend, but scientifically, I mean, we saw experts saying that take is beyond wrong. People saying that Rogan is misunderstanding, misleading, cherry-picking studies in a field
absolutely
that he has no actual background in. And understand, like, when I say that, I'm not the one heading this. Like, I have no background.
Exactly. You're going straight to the source. The guy who wrote the article, watch.
In biology. But I mean, with this instance specifically, you have Andrew Reed, not only a biology professor at Pennsylvania State, but also the lead author of the 2015 paper that Rogan was trying to use.
Bingo.
So now, because of the virality of this clip, talked to journalists and saying, we're talking about a very different virus and very different vaccines. The paper at the center of this actually involved...
There it is right there. Immunization of chickens against Marek's disease. It is about a vaccine to fight Marek's disease, and Joe Rogan is conflating it with the COVID vaccine. There's interviews that this doctor did trying to spread and say, dude, this is very dangerous. You're giving out wrong stuff, and this is promoting vaccine hesitancy. This is misinformation. Are you guys seeing a pattern now? Are you with me still? If you're not an ideologue that is just married to the idea of just, oh, this is just about freedom of speech and censorship, like, first of all, Joe Rogan still has his freedom of speech. He's not going to be arrested. The government's not going to punish him for saying any of this stuff. We're not even close to being done. Like, this is not going to be a short video because I want people to thoroughly see how wacky this has gotten. So this is something that Joe Rogan's been promoting quite a bit, that masks don't work, essentially. You know, at the beginning, you saw Lex Freeman where he started off, where he's just listening. He's always been pushing back and saying they're for like pussies or whatever and stuff like this now. But it's just getting much more and more to where it's like, they don't work. Didn't you see that one fucking weirdo on YouTube? He just proved it all. Like, yeah, YouTube videos. That's it.
And I don't even know if they work.
I don't even know if they work.
I mean, maybe they stop spittle from getting into someone, but
They don't. We know it.
Maybe they stop spittle. I don't know. Maybe they stop spittle. I don't know. I'm not a fucking expert. I don't know if cloth could stop my spit. I don't know. That's weird. That's a weird concept.
They don't work, dude.
This guy's just like, they don't work. They straight up don't work.
how
they
can
work.
they? If you can get your fingers
How can
to the
they?
side of it and air's coming out. You ever seen that doctor?
How can they work?
Vapes, and then he puts the mask on to show you they don't work.
I've seen the video.
I've seen the video.
Wild.
Yeah, it's wild. It's such a wild concept. It's such a wild concept that they just don't work. So he's talking about this jamoke right here. Let me pull it up. He's talking about this idiot. This video has 100,000 views right now on YouTube, and this genius is just putting on mask and just vaping in them. That's all he's doing. And he's like, "Oh God, look how well they're working. Oh man." He's just like, that's all he's doing.
Really well to protect.
Oh, it's protecting really well. He's just vaping, and then it's like, wow, look how well they work. It's so good at preventing aerosol. Like, this is so good. I can't believe. And then, just completely spreading the narrative that masks don't work. Now, to the people that say masks don't work, I want to ask you a question. What do you think they're supposed to do? What do you think masks are supposed to do? Do you think it's supposed to shut off everything, every ounce of air or anything that's supposed to come out and essentially suffocate you so you die because you can't breathe? No, geniuses. I could explain this to a 4-year-old. Let's say I have a 4-year-old son. This is what I would say to my 4-year-old son. My 4-year-old son is coughing, sneezing, whatever, sick or whatever. And I say, "Hey man, cover your mouth when you cough and sneeze." Sons ask, "Why?" And I tell him, well, see all that spit coming from your mouth when you cough and sneeze? It can spread, and it has a lot of germs in it that can get other people sick. So what you want to do is cover your mouth, so then a lot of that spit will just get on your hand. You can catch a lot of it. So then it won't spread as far. And then the little 4-year-old will be like, "Okay, Daddy, I understand." Excellent. So with the mask, let me conduct my own test, right? So I have my hand, right? Oh, a little spit in my hand. Crazy. I got this piece of paper. Got pretty damp. Caught a lot of my spit. Caught a lot of it. And I have a mask over here. I got a mask. Yeah. Wow. Very damp. It caught a lot of my spit instead of getting all over the fucking place. That's it. It's to help stop the spread. Remember the slogan from the very beginning? Help stop the spread. You will catch spittle in your fucking mask. It is not 100%. It's to help stop the spread. When you cover your mouth, when you cough or sneeze, you're doing the same thing. And having a mask on when you're around fucking people will do it to a much larger degree because you always have the mask on. When you're talking, you're spitting. Put a camera up to your fucking mouth when you're talking. You're going to see the little spit coming out. You're trying to catch some of it because that's how it fucking transfers. The fact that anybody is saying masks don't work are just the biggest idiots on the fucking planet. Just completely stupid. Just completely gone. It's so sadly stupid that I could explain this to a child that would understand. And then there's grown-ass people in this earth walking around. They're like, "Oh, this don't work." I've seen memes on Facebook of people like, "Yeah, I'm wearing a mask to protect me from the virus. Oh, yeah, and I put up a chain link fence to keep out mosquitoes." I've literally seen that meme. And I'm like, oh, my God, this is why we're still in the pandemic. These people are so stupid that they can't understand something this simple. And someone who I respect, like Joe Rogan, is now a part of it. Did you see that guy vaping? Did you see that doctor vaping and demonstrating how masks do nothing? Oh, no. Oh, my God. So I want to bring you another clip of Dr. Rhonda Patrick's on, and, she's tackling all the misinformation. She's talking about COVID stuff. So I just want to kind of wrap the clips up on this, because I have much more to show. This is gonna be a long one, guys, because you can't just talk about this in like 10 minutes. It's impossible. But here's Rhonda just explaining how pretty much you're gonna get COVID if you're not vaccinated.
Like either you're going to be vaccinated and not get it, or you might get it with Delta, and there's
or
no telling.
You can be unvaccinated and not get it too.
And look at the way that he says that, right? with such, like, he's so, like, it's weird. It's wrapped up into his ideology. It's not just like it's not even like he's asking a question. Oh, can you be unvaccinated and not get it? Like, with a curious way, asking questions as so many people are just saying. No, he's asserting that you can be unvaccinated and not get it. Like, he's just like, and the way he's looking at her, like, what you talking about, bitch? Like, look at how he's looking at her.
That's not going to be the case for, like, unless you're a hermit and
basically
never,
we all saw what happened with Omicron, basically, right?
It's eventually going to.
I've been exposed to it many times and I haven't gotten it.
That's exactly the case. And then we all know.
So I got back from the road Saturday.
Yeah, we all know. We all know that Joe Rogan got COVID. And then the funny thing about this, which I've tackled this before, about the kitchen sink that he threw at it, which was just hilarious. There's the ivermectin thing that caused a bunch of people to go out and buy the horse dewormer, because Joe Rogan didn't even say that he got it prescribed from a doctor at first. This video was just him saying, I took ivermectin. So a lot of these stupid people that follow him, unfortunately, were just like, I'm going to get it. You can see the spikes in sales. There are pictures in stores saying we are out of this stuff. You would see the analytics on Google. There's somebody that I knew personally saying, I ordered some from the UK. He didn't order the human version. They got the horse dewormer. And so I'm like, oh, this is a mess. And then, of course, he clarified later on the podcast and saying, I got it from a doctor. And I'm like, cool. Maybe you should have said that before. I'm just assuming, but like I said, with great power comes great responsibility, because unfortunately there's a lot of dumb people out there. And look what they did. They did dumb stuff. Furthermore, ivermectin is for parasites. Even though it is approved to work, there's a lot of people that were like, see, Joe Rogan got better so much faster. See, this is how Joe Rogan got better so quickly, because Joe Rogan has access to monoclonal antibodies. I'm talking about you, probably any one of you that are watching this most likely do not have access to monoclonal antibodies for a few reasons, which I'll get into in a second, because of the stuff, the kitchen sink and everything that he threw at it. A bunch of people have been coming to Joe Rogan for advice, right? I've seen people that have been vaccinated, they got COVID, and they got better in a couple of days. And then I've seen people that taking monoclonal antibodies that got better in a couple of days. So here's the thing. The monoclonal antibodies is just creating artificial antibodies in you. And the COVID vaccine is just having your immune system create antibodies. It's leading to the same goal. So what are we doing here? And so the people that are saying it's about big pharma and shit, you're crazy, because it's all this medicine comes from big pharma. There's just one major difference, though, that like one thing is free and one is extremely expensive. But my point of talking about this right here, I want to show you something that was spread to more millions of people. Dana White calls Joe Rogan Dr. Joe Rogan, which is like funny, And he's asked about, what do you think about all the people that came out against Joe Rogan, like some doctors? It was like 270 in total, but I know they weren't all like virologists and epidemiologists and stuff like that. But I still feel like when there's smoke, there's fire. Maybe you should still at least investigate and see what this is about. But this is what Dana White has to say about this situation.
Well, how about this? Ever since I came out and said what I did, it's almost impossible now to get monoclonal antibodies.
Okay, and why is that, sir?
They're making it so you can't get them.
Oh,
medicine that absolutely works.
Oh, is that it?
They're keeping from us. I don't want to get.
Oh, is that it? They're keeping it from us. I didn't know that they're just keeping it from us. It couldn't be anything else, could it? So when you do a simple search, monoclonal antibodies shortage, just do that. The amount of articles that pop up, it's a massive shortage. It's a massive shortage. Why it's a massive shortage? Because monoclonal antibodies are not just plentiful, difficult to make, very expensive. So now that you people are shooting your mouths off being like, screw the vaccine, get monoclonal antibodies. It absolutely works. Even though I just explained what monoclonal antibodies does, it still gets to the same fucking goal. The major difference is one is free and the other, is thousands of dollars. Look at some of these monoclonal antibodies. Dupexit, look at this. $2,900, $5,600, $11,000, almost $12,000 actually. $3,300, $5,700. So when you're talking about monoclonal antibodies like Regeneron and what have you, the common person cannot afford them. You're not going to have access to them. They're going to be even more expensive because they're running out because so many rich people are buying them up. Joe Rogan and all of his homies, Dana White, Tim Pool, Aaron Rodgers, all those people, they all got their monoclonal antibodies when they got COVID because they can afford it. You, the average person, cannot. Unless you want to break the bank and then be in debt. Which I'm assuming you're probably already in debt for some stuff, but you don't want to put yourself more in debt. Or you can get the vaccine that creates antibodies in you. I mean, I just don't, like Trump got it. Trump was better really quickly. He can afford it. But you're not them. Make no mistakes. You are not the cream of the crop as far as the money that you get and the privileges that you get. You don't have private doctors that will just give you what you want. If you ask for ivermectin, most likely you're not going to get it because they'll tell you, well, here's the thing. It's for parasites. I really believe that we should do X, Y, and Z. That will help you a lot better. Like I want everything that Joe Rogan. I want the Z-Pack. What, for the virus? It's an antibiotic. Why would you want that for the virus? I want prednisone. Oh, do you have high inflammation? Do you have like a lot of inflammation? No, I just feel bad. Well, then I don't want to give you prednisone because prednisone will lower your immune system a lot. It's actually kind of a dangerous drug to take if you're trying to boost your immune system. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's like you're not going to get the cocktail of stuff that he's got. When are you going to get your IV drip? You hear what you hear what I'm saying? You understand what I'm trying to say here? That these guys, these rich people are promoting these alternative things, and we're not all rich. But what you can do is get your vaccinations. I've been vaccinated and I've got a booster. And guess what? I have not gotten COVID yet. Not yet. I'm just trying to do my part to not spread it to other people. I'm more worried about spreading it to other people than myself. And I've always been that way. I'm more worried about other people's safety than just my own individual freedom or whatever. It's pretty sad that so many people don't care about that. They don't care about people. They care about themselves and their freedom. How dare you encroach on my freedom? Oh, how dare you make me wear a mask in your private business? I know this is your business and you have the right to put the rules that you want. But when I come into your business, I want to do what I want. That's where we're at, ladies and gentlemen. These people don't give a fuck about other people. They don't give a fuck about other people's freedoms. They don't care about other people's freedom to be alive. They're just like, oh, the numbers are so little. This is crazy and overblown. We're trying. That's why the numbers are so low. People are actually trying to stop the spread. Imagine if no one did anything. Imagine how much more people would have died. Like, y'all are fucking crazy. I wanna move on to Joe Rogan's Twitter account. Because I really wanted to see, like, all right, so there's been some instances on the podcast and stuff, and there's a lot of stuff happening that I just don't like. Let me take a look at his Twitter account. And ladies and gentlemen, it's not good. When you look at the numbers and the virality of the stuff that's being spread, it's not good, man. It's not good at all. So I want to start off with, I think everybody at this point has seen that infamous clip, right, where Joe Rogan's talking about myocarditis, and he's just wrong about the information. And he gets schooled and he's stumbling and he's still trying to protect his ego, his ideology with like, where'd you get this information from? It's just hard. Like, this is not what I've seen. And I'm like, God, all right, man. Yeah, we know a lot of stuff that you've seen has been incorrect. We know this. So if you haven't seen, let's just go through it a little bit, right?
Instances of myocarditis.
Yes, but you know what?
Hospitalization.
You know that there's an increased risk of myocarditis among that age cohort from getting COVID as well, which exceeds the risk of myocarditis from the vaccine.
I don't think that's true.
It is 100% true. And the reason why he didn't think it's true, I'll get to in a second.
I don't think it's true. No.
So
I don't think it's true.
He's like, no. He's pushing back. He's like, oh, I don't like this.
True that there's an
yes, 12 to 7.
So they go and they read it. I'm sure most of you guys have seen this clip. If you haven't,
17. 12 to 17, more likely.
He reads it. I just want to get to the part where he's kind of like pushing back.
8 times likelier to get myocarditis from getting COVID than from getting the vaccine.
8 times more likely to get myocarditis from getting COVID than getting the vaccine. All right,
that's interesting.
Now,
that is not what I've read before. But also,
look at his face. Look at his face.
even when we're reading these things, it's like, what are we getting this from?
Where are we
Is this
getting
from
this
the
from?
VAERS report?
He's like, oh, he's just struggling with it. And it's like, all right, dude, that's a little weird. So at least Joe Rogan's like, if anyone's going to make me look dumb on the podcast, I'm glad it's, this dude. And he says, this video is cringy, but that's what happens when you stumble in a long-form podcast when you didn't know the subject was going to come up and you wing it. That's also a big problem. When you're talking about something this important, we're in the midst of this pandemic, we're trying to beat it, and you're stumbling through. Shouldn't you be prepared for this? That's when I keep going back to Uncle Ben. With great power comes great responsibility. When you have a platform this large, shouldn't you be prepared for this shit? For something this important, it's not because you're not just shooting the shit with your homies, which is always fine. But it's like when it's something this big, you're like, don't you want to be prepared? So then Joe shares the article that he read by this Vinay Prasad, and unfortunately, this Substack article that was written is leaving out a lot of information. Unfortunately, so there's a doctor here. Dr. Portman actually clarifies because she's tired, and a lot of people are tired of them misquoting the information because stuff is being left out, and she actually shows graphs and stuff that are a lot more precise, and that it includes some of the stuff where it says the Prasad in his Substack personally does not mention cardiac arrhythmias, huge, or how do you say this, pericarditis? Man, I can't even read that. Which were increased with COVID infection, but not vaccines. He only shows you a mild increase in myocarditis in under 40, which is almost universally self-limited. He then says that it seems the government agencies don't care about maximizing benefits and minimizing harm. An extraordinary claim when you blatantly manipulate the very data they are considering and dismiss the broader benefits of vaccination. She goes on and on, she goes hard in the paint. And so if you want to just check out Dr. Unburnt Porman, that actually breaks this stuff down and shows you oh, he's leaving out a lot of information. This is pretty important. And look, this is not the only thing. This is me going into Joe Rogan's, all I'm doing is just going into Joe Rogan's Twitter. This is just from his Twitter. He says he's not an anti-vaxxer promoting anti-vax hesitancy or whatever, stuff like that. But this is another video that he shared. It's an amazing speech by a young chick.
Thank you for teaching students that our own mental health is much less important than making triple vaccinated adults feel safe.
Oh.
Thank you for teaching me that even the most minute risk is not worth taking.
Okay, that's what it is, right?
Life is best when you take the path of least resistance.
Right.
With no chance of failure and definitely no chance of catching a cold. Thank you for not reaching out to the students to ask how we feel about masks, because if you did, the majority of students would say that they hate masks, and then you might second guess your decision to make us wear them.
Oh, so it's about feelings now. It's about feeling you hate wearing them, and you're so this is what he's sharing. The whole this is the type of stuff. It just keeps going on and on. So Jake Shields, somebody that I'm a fan of in mixed martial arts community, unfortunately is spreading misinformation. This is what Joe Rogan retweets. It says that, oh, a 9-year-old girl is being arrested for not having a vaccine card. That's what they're showing a 9-year-old girl. Look at and. If you look at this, it says we're destroying lives. This has to stop. You see, she looks very just what am I doing here? You know what I'm saying? That's how they're trying to make it. But this is what's actually going down. So there's these idiots, these anti-mandate protesters. These protesters, anti-mandate protesters are actually being arrested. They're being arrested. And I'm assuming one of these geniuses brought their little child, and she's being escorted out. She has not been arrested. She's been escorted out because I'm assuming she came with one of those people. But this is the type of stuff that Joe is spreading on his Twitter. Let's keep going. So this clip right here. This is another thing that he retweeted.
I'm done.
She's just done.
No,
Barry Weiss, who's been on the JRE and stuff.
I'm done.
She's like, I'm just like Bill Maher, we're liberals and stuff, but we're done. This vaccines and it's all stupid. It's all dumb.
Right?
No, we didn't do it.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of us did do it, and then we were told, you get the vaccine. You get the vaccine and you get back to normal.
Oh, yeah?
And
yeah. Did everybody get the vaccine, though? Come on.
Haven't gotten back to normal. And it's
I wonder why.
ridiculous at this point. I know that
it is ridiculous.
So many of my liberal and progressive friends are with me on this, and they do not want to say it out loud because they are scared to be called anti-vax.
What do they want to say?
Science denial, or to be, smeared as a Trumper. I'm sorry, if you believe the science, you will look at the data that we did not have 2 years ago.
What data? You're just saying things.
And you will find out that cloth masks do not do anything.
Oh, they don't do anything. See, Joe Rogan just keeps spreading this shit. And then it keeps being hammered into these people's brains. They just don't work. I explained to you how they fucking work, but these people just don't give a shit about this stuff. Let's keep going. So, Joe, this was an article that he shared after, he got, schooled pretty hard about myocarditis. So you had this dude that just wrote this article, and he's like, we need to talk about vaccines. And essentially, this dude is an epidemiologist. And the thing is, this is the stupidest article ever. I read it already. So basically, it starts off by saying Dr. Robert Malone, the guy who says he's the chief architect of mRNA, he's not. He had a hand in it, but he's not the chief architect. It's stupid. First, based off of that, you already don't want to listen to him. And so this is what the article, the skinny of it, they go about the claims. They're talking about myocarditis. And then this guy is like, yes, it does increase the risk. Vaccines does increase the risk. The epidemiologist does not say, but it also increases your risk 8 times more, 4 to 8 times more if you get COVID. It's not even in this fucking article. So he's saying, by that, we should have this discussion. And then, so now he goes after other claims and just completely swats them down. For example, I think this is where it starts. It says, claim vaccines have a lot of other dangerous side effects. At other points in this interview, Malone alludes to many potential side effects of vaccination, claiming it can result in seizure and paralysis, and that the menstrual irregularities associated with the vaccine suggests it is a major threat to reproductive health for women. He suggests that vaccinations can support C cells, raising the risk of unusual cancers. And then so the epidemiologist says, to date, I have seen no evidence to support any of these claims, and I believe it is a mistake to raise them. You fucking think? But it's still... Okay, let me keep this. First, they are irresponsible. Malone's rhetoric verges on fear-mongering. And second, they distract from his legitimate points of myocarditis in young men. His legitimate points! Yet he does not mention that getting COVID, you are more likely to get myocarditis than if you got the fucking vaccine. And this guy's like, his legitimate points. This fucking article is dog shit. And of course, Joe Rogan retweeted this shit. Of course he did. It's a dog shit article. It's fucking garbage. Here's another one. So Joe Rogan's like, he retweets this Tim Kennedy fucking idiot, right? Another MMA guy. And it's just like, God, these people are so stupid, man. I love the mixed martial arts community. But so they share this from Fox. Natural immunity was 6 times stronger during the Delta wave than vaccination, according to a new report from the U.S. Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. And then this guy just says, man, it's almost like this was a conspiracy theory 6 months ago. Do you know what this article says? This article says, if you get COVID, you have to contract COVID first. Then you having COVID and then getting your antibodies is stronger than the vaccination. But so you have to risk getting COVID first. So basically, geniuses, go get yourself some COVID, risk life-threatening fucking health issues, possibly dying, and then after that, you will be better fighting Delta than if you got your vaccine from a long time ago. And within the article itself, so one of the reasons why they assume this is the case is because they think that the vaccinations, when they were gotten, they were starting to wear off. And so when you look at this, the study has limits. Namely, it was done before Omicron wave and doesn't factor any information about boosters. So do you see how this shit gets spun into some complete garbage, and then people like Joe Rogan will just retweet it? These people just retweet all of this stuff. This is all great. So you can't tell me, after everything I just showed you, that Joe Rogan is not complicit in vaccine hesitancy and is definitely 100% spreading COVID misinformation. If at this point, if you've watched this entire video and you disagree with what I'm saying, you're too far gone. If you're one of those people that think masks somehow don't fucking work when they're just supposed to catch some goddamn spittle and help stop the spread, you're too far gone. If you're just a Joe Rogan sycophant, a fanboy, that thinks he could just do no wrong. You're too far gone. But if you're somewhere like me, somewhere who's very open, who wants to see what's actually happening, then maybe you'll learn something. Maybe you'll actually have not looked into this that much and thought like, oh, I don't know, what's the big deal? What is the big deal? And then you see this like, oh shit, like this is actually kind of nuts. He's kind of going hard in the paint on this stuff. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a small fraction. Even with the Twitter, this was just from a couple of scrolls. I just scrolled a couple of times. So I'm talking about within the last month, this is what was on Twitter. Like, this stuff, he's going hard in the paint. Ever since he moved to Texas, it's like there's a vendetta. It's like he's on the train that the vaccine, the viruses aren't, it's not a big deal. Masks don't work. The economy is much more important than human health, because it's like, I don't know, which is weird. I understand a lot of people, about the business and everything closing down. It's travesty, of course. If we would have done collectively, if we came together as a society, we could have beat this thing. And this is the biggest thing that these people aren't realizing. That the people that are hesitant, the people that are not going along, the people that are still partying and doing all this stuff, not trying to social distance, not trying to help in any way, shape, or form, they're keeping this shit alive. We could have gotten out of this. We could have done it. We lost. We lost because of all this information that's spreading around. People that are afraid of all this stuff. They're afraid of this little needle and stuff. And then yet they're clamoring to get any other alternative. And here's the thing. Before, I never cared about this stuff. To be honest, I thought a lot of misinformation conspiracy theories were hilarious and great. I thought they were so fun. One of the reasons why I was so disappointed about Alex Jones being deplatformed is because I loved his antics. In this situation, though, because, in my lifetime, I've never dealt with a pandemic like this or anything. No, most of it has, especially my generation. It really changed the perspective of things. It really shows that like misinformation and stupidity is so fucking dangerous. And then if we had the knowledge and the wherewithal and the drive and we're willing to come together to be unselfish, to be selfless, we could have whooped this shit's ass. We failed so badly. There's a lot of people that tried their very best. I applaud your efforts, man, but the country is way too divided. What do we do at this point? But I hope after watching this video, you guys understand why a lot of people are very disappointed in Joe Rogan. And there's a lot of people that think it needs to be removed. I don't think it needs to be removed from Spotify. I just wish he would be more responsible. But anyway, guys, that's it for me. I really do hope you gained something from watching this, because I'm not going to do this very often, but I thought it was very important. Because if I can change even like a couple of people's minds and maybe get people to understand the science and the logic behind this stuff, I feel like I've done my part. All right, you guys have a good one. Take care.